Steve, taking a look at this, of course, there's the question of use of force, but also how much time do officers have to respond in any given situation?
So every situation is different, but at times they have to make a split-second decision, and those decisions could be life or death. Look, the criminal code authorizes the police to use lethal force if there is a threat of grievous bodily harm or death to themselves or to somebody else. You have a gun on your hip. You need to make those decisions sometimes very, very quickly, and you have to assess what's going on around you. In this particular situation, as we saw through the video, the man who was cutting his own neck was backing up in a park where there were no other people around other than the officers. So there goes the threat of imminent bodily harm or death to another person. This is why the SIU laid the criminal charges that they did, and the police officer took accountability for actions that he clearly believed were inappropriate because he pled guilty today with the advice of the legal counsel to some very serious criminal charges.
What kind of training do police officers have to go through in order to be able to assess a situation within seconds, within moments of getting onto a scene?
Yeah, the training that the police go through is extensive. Now, it could always be better, of course, and you could always have more training. But in a situation like this, the police are paid to do a difficult job. Policing is difficult. This situation certainly highlights that. You have to assess the situation, and when you make a decision, you're going to be held accountable for that decision, and you need to justify that decision. And in this case, that apparently was not the appropriate steps because, again, the SIU laid charges on reasonable grounds, laid criminal charges, and the officer pled guilty as a result.
Okay, so Steve, a compound question here. What exactly does this guilty plea mean, and what effect will it have?
Well, there's a couple of things. The SIU laying criminal charges lets the community know that they will lay charges if it is warranted through reasonable grounds. The officer pled guilty. He's taken accountability, and it shows that the police will be held accountable if criminal charges are laid. In this particular case, this officer pled guilty. He will be sentenced in October, and he will learn the fate of what his sentence will be and whether or not he'll keep his job as well.
You said this officer pled guilty, has taken accountability for his actions. What led him to decide to plead guilty?
Yeah, who knows? That's a great question. Obviously, through, just generally speaking, legal counsel will provide you with guidance. The decision is obviously yours. But in a situation where the police have to assess a million different things going on in a split second, one of them being if you're going to use lethal force, there has to be a threat of imminent bodily harm or death to themselves or to somebody else. In this case, it is clear through the video and through the guilty plea that that wasn't the case, and the officer pled guilty as well. Certainly doesn't minimize what happened. This young man is lucky his life wasn't lost as a result, but there was some accountability with the guilty plea. But it does illustrate, again, just how difficult policing is.
And Steve, as we begin to wrap up here, let's talk about the biggest takeaways, not only for the community, but for police.
Well, the police have to de-escalate situations if somebody is in crisis or they have a weapon of any sort. And the training and law requires that. Again, if there is no threat of imminent bodily harm or death, you have to de-escalate. Because somebody is harming themselves, you have to take further steps to de-escalate that situation. Now, they did try to de-escalate, trying to incapacitate this man by tasing him. He had on a winter jacket, so the taser wasn't effective. You can't just go to your higher use of force option as a result. You still need to assess what's going on. You still need to look around. Is there a threat of imminent bodily harm or death? But they did attempt to de-escalate the situation by tasing this man, but it was ineffective. You can't just resort to lethal force, and that's what was done in this case.
Thank you so much for this, Steve. We appreciate your insight and analysis.